Allow me to let you all in on a little secret. Are you ready? I love competitive Pokemon. I know, it is shocking. Who could have guessed? I think the amazingly talented Big Yellow said it best.
Nothing really hits different like guessing right in a children's game.
And while my knowledge of the series consists of essentially knowing a ton about Generation 1, a little bit about Gen 2, and that Generations 3 through 9 definitely exist, it's still a vibe, for sure. I honestly need a new generation to jump into at some point, but one of the biggest roadblocks to competitive Pokemon is that feeling of restriction on team building that you have. I mean, yeah, as long as it's legal, you can use any Pokemon, any moveset, any strategy you want. But if you want to win, especially if you're learning, you should really be sticking to sample teams and presets, which can definitely get boring after a while if you're not weird like me and probably you. And that's all definitely true in any generation of Pokemon, but the original probably has the most iconic top 3 Pokemon out there, especially because Generation 2 Snorlax is his own breed of insanity. But like, Tauros, Snorlax, Chansey, they're pretty much required on every single team, and have roles that just can't be fulfilled without them, is the line that everyone says. But what if we, just didn't? Let's take those 3 Pokemon, channel my ex-wife's energy, and kick them to the damn curb. Y'all read the title of this video already, and if you didn't, thank you for playing me while you're asleep, or working, or showering, or working out, or jacking off. So okay, here are all the rules of what we have going on here. I'm going to be playing 10 teams, 10 matches each, and on none of these teams are there going to be any Tauros, Snowman, or Chuck allowed. That's the main goal of the video. But I have a few more rules just to keep things interesting. For one, we aren't including forfeits, unless it's very reasonable that we would have won. I think that this just makes sense, and I don't really need to go into too much detail explaining it, but for funsies too, and to make sure this doesn't get too boring, I'm also going to need to include one not OU Pokemon per team. The OU bracket in RBY is only 13 Pokemon, so swapping around the same 10 for 100 matches would get very boring very quick. You might be asking why I wouldn't want the most viable team possible for this challenge, and for that, I have 2 answers. For one, because Tauros, Snorlax, and Chansey are the best at what they do, they're the OU Big 3. Surprise, shock, everything, I know, but they actually are not the only Pokemon that can fulfill these roles. It's weird. There's alternatives for each of them, they're just usually lower tiered Pokemon. Unfortunately, this does mean that using them in OU play isn't the best idea, but my second reason is that this whole video is a bad idea, so who cares? Also, less of a rule, more just for the sake of the runtime of this video. I'm going to be explaining the teams, I'm going to show some highlights, and then we're going to review it, and then we're going to go on to the next team. I'm going to be posting a very long companion video of every match, but I don't want to bog this video down too much. But me over-explaining is doing just that anyway, so screw it, let's get started. This is our first team. We're rocking the middle 3 with Alakazam as our lead, so we can save Starmie for the mid-game. Gengar's coming in for support with Nightshade, Explosion, Confuse Ray, and Mega Drain, since Exeggutor is going to take care of Sleep. Amnesia Slowbro with Blizzard and Psychic can be a terrifying wall if I set it up correctly. And Dodrio is actually going to be our Tauros replacement. Dodrio does have a few advantages over Tauros, namely a higher attack stat, access to agility, and stab drill peck. And that's actually pretty good in a couple matchups. For instance, against Chansey, Dodrio can body slam into Hyper Beam, and as long as Chansey doesn't start healing immediately, it will take it down every single time. Meanwhile for Tauros, it's very likely, but when it doesn't work, you end up looking like a straight fool. Meanwhile, Drill Peck can help us get through Exeggutor, a Pokemon that Tauros really struggles with without just getting a lucky freeze. And that's all pretty great. Better matchups against Exeggutor and Chansey, plus we get agility. Dodrio must be pretty overlooked, right? I mean, it's got a ton of niches, it must be pretty amazing. Nah. There's a ton of downsides to Dodrio, unfortunately. The flying type sucks defensively. You have absolutely no coverage outside of Drill Peck, unlike Tauros, who literally gets the best version of every elemental attack that you would want. And our lower base speed means that we're less effective in a revenge killer role. Alright, so this is definitely going to be an uphill battle, but we knew what we were getting into, so let's go. Alright, so this is our results from the first set. We got 3 wins and 7 losses. Let's try this again because that's obviously not good. Let's keep Dodrio for another round. I think that it definitely has something to prove. Its damage output is pretty good honestly, but keeping it around just isn't the easiest thing in the world. I feel like the team just isn't very compatible, so let's do a couple changes and see if we can get our bird to flap just a little bit further. Our first team had too many psychic types, while also not having a really good Starmie removal strategy, which is a big deal, as Starmie is always rocking a super effective move against Dodrio. We're also struggling hard against Zapdos, with most of our team just completely folding into it. We're gonna swap out Alakazam for Jolteon as our new lead, because I think having an anti-lead is gonna be a great way to start off our weird-ass team. It'll hopefully at least scale Starmie out, and is also a great check for Zapdos. And because we now have a designated electric type, Starmie's gonna get Psychic over Thunderbolt, but on the flip side, we're gonna have Gengar pick that up over Nightshade. Yeah, I know I'll probably regret this just as many times as I don't. I've been divorced. Let's just see how our second team goes. So okay, we did slightly better, but this team just has so many problems. First thing, 3 of our Pokemon are completely walled by Rhydon, and that is pretty awful, all things considered. And on the flip side, not only is the Rock Ground Titan stopping us, but half of our team is still scared of electric types. And unfortunately, Dodrio is in both categories. It can definitely put in work, but the negatives just drive it into the ground. Niches aside, we're gonna need to let this bird fly away on its own. Moving now on to our third team, we're gonna bounce out that Noctours for another Noctours, one that not only isn't scared of electric type, but can also slap Rhydon pretty well. Sandslash. Sandslash is a pretty interesting Pokemon, especially by Gen 1 standards. It's a Swords Dance sweeper, but it trades some of the other dancers, admittedly much better offensive stats, for being just pure ground type, meaning we're immune to electric type attacks, which is huge, and can get us some good switch-in and setup opportunities. Speaking of defensive capabilities, since we're pure ground and not rock ground, Rhydon's Earthquake can only ever 3-hit KO us without a crit, while Owl's, which outspeeds Rhydon, has a very attractive chance to 2-hit KO, and that's unboosted. Rhydon is one of the absolute most main character energy Pokemon in OU, and there's definitely something to say for being able to just use it as a setup monster. For Sandslash's moveset, obviously we go with Earthquake, Swords Dance, Rock Slide, and then a 4th move, right? Well, no. I don't think that an unstabbed Rock Slide is really worth it. My preferred set is Earthquake and Swords Dance, of course. Then Substitute, to take advantage of our ground type and ignore Thunder Wave, because as we all know, Gen 1 is Gen 1, and Substitute doesn't naturally block like half of the statuses. We're still worried about getting hit by Stun Spore and Body Slam, but Thunder Wave is so ingrained in the OU meta that opportunities to switch in are very plentiful. Getting our sub up will help us essentially force a Swords Dance to happen, which is more than you can say for the rest of the dances, as a single Thunder Wave would absolutely destroy them. And for the 4th move, I'm a little torn. I want Submission for the extra damage versus the normal types, Hyper Beam for coverage, or Slash for immediate damaging potential. Let's go with Hyper Beam this time, and we're also going to swap out Jolteon for Zapdos for even more physical coverage, especially against Exeggutor, one of the scariest monsters to Sandslash. On Gengar, we're switching to Nightshade and Thunderbolt, and also making them all lead. And then on Starmie, since we're basically baiting out Rhydon with 2 different Pokemon, we're doing Psychic and Hydro Pump. Really living up to that nickname, and please figure that joke out for yourselves so YouTube doesn't cancel me. So this is a really bad opening matchup. Lead Gengar without Hypnosis really is not the best idea. Surprise, surprise, I know. But, speaking of surprises, oh wow, this actually went way better than I expected. 6 wins, a draw, and 3 losses. Really not bad at all. Sandslash can put in pretty decent work, and besides the pretty bad opening matchup, this team has a lot of potential. So, I don't want to change the team members, but let's put Starmie as our lead and save Gengar for the mid game. Of course now, Hydro Pump is pretty much useless. Lead Rhydons and even lead Onyxes are very rare. So, our weird and fun move this time is gonna be Thunder, because Thunder instead of Thunderbolt is actually really important in the Starmie matchup, as Thunderbolt is a 3-hit KO naturally, and cannot 1-hit KO opposing Starmies with a critical hit, while Thunder is a guaranteed 2-hit KO, and will always 1-hit with a crit. Also notably, both of these properties apply to unboosted Slowbro, although you're just barely not guaranteed to get the 1-hit KO crit. But like, you're already banking on a crit with Thunder, so I'm gonna say the 5% chance to not do it isn't a major deterrent. Just like sneeze on him beforehand, you'll be okay. Not to mention, if you're desperate enough, a crit Thunder will still take out even a fully boosted Slowbro. I know that's insane, but hopefully it's gonna save my ass the one-time mandatory for me to think that it was a good idea. On Sandslash, we're going to be giving it Rock Slide to switch things up, as Stab Earthquake ties for damage versus Hyper Beam, so it's really only useful versus Zapdos, and Rock Slide would do the same damage to it, without the charge turn if it doesn't knock it out. It could also help against the likes of Jinx, Cloyster, and Articuno, except that they all outspeed us, and the Blizzards are all guaranteed 1-hit KOs. And I'm already regretting this, but here we go. Okay. So, something with the last change was a bad idea. We're down to an even 5-5 now. I can feel that this team is so close though, so let's give it one more chance before we give up on the little rodent. Bye bye Zapdos, welcome back Captain Spoons. Also Sandslash gets Hyper Beam back, because I hate Rock Slide, and we'll need some extra power versus some relevant threats. Like for instance, I forgot Executor resists Earthquake. Maybe. I really enjoyed using this team, honestly. The spread obviously isn't incredible. We still technically did worse than our first team of Sandslash. But realistically, I think it's pretty decent. We actually beat some pretty high ladder ranked players with this. Of course, ladder placement isn't everything, but it's just an indication that this might actually have some substance. Unfortunately, our video must go on, but everyone should give Sandslash a try. He really does the best job that he can. And I'm not over having electric resistances, so let's get Rhydon back in our team. I always run Bubble Beam as my 4th move, ever since this handsome bastard told me that it was a 100% great idea.
Also, if you're completely insane, you can run Bubble Beam, because if you use Bubble Beam on the opponent's Rhydon, and you get the 33% chance of a speed drop, then you're guaranteed to outspeed them the next turn and KO with Earthquake. Which is very funny. Very funny.
Honestly though, it does pay off pretty well sometimes though. And for my lower tier pick, let's just get fucking weird with our lead game and go Parasect over Alakazam. Okay, hang on, let me explain. Parasect can be really fun as an anti-lead. The only leads that can be super threatening are Jinx, who has a 41% chance to one-hit KOs with Blizzard, and Starmie, who can do the same thing with a critical hit. Besides that, there's not much Alakazam or Jolteon can do except paralyze us, and if Eggy or Gengar try to put us to sleep and miss, they're as screwed as my loyal fees are. And also, if Parasect is your Pokemon asleep, I still feel like that's kind of an advantage in itself. But what that means is that a majority of the time, Parasect can in fact do a thing. That thing being Spore, Substitute, and Sunspore, in that order, and it doesn't really matter for the fourth move because we won't last long enough to use it half the time. Let's just take Slash for some hopefully okay damage one time, or just to force out whatever we put to sleep if they want to stay in. And now that we lost a genuinely good Pokemon in Alakazam, we're switching out Slowbro's moveset for something a little more traditional, and we're going to be putting Mega Drain on Eggy, because sleep should be done before he even has to worry about coming out. On that topic. Alright, so that went not well. I forgot that Slash doesn't always crit because our speed is ass, but that's not the only issue on this team. I mean, look at it! Who are the physical attackers here? Rhydon, and our 2 grenades, and maybe 1 Slash off Parasect? Yeah, this team was never gonna be great. So let's try to make another one that is. Okay, so the only Pokemon that's gonna stay exactly the same is gonna be Rhydon. Exeggutor is going back to being our sleeper. Alakazam is coming back to be a normal lead set, because we actually are going to have a ton of coverage with our team, so for once, I actually want Zamzam over Starmie. Besides that, we have Zapdos being Zapdos, along with Persian, which, if you watched my previous video, help me in the algorithm, you'll know this set pretty well. And then we're basically replacing Gengar's role on our team so far with Cloyster. Come out, wreck stuff, annoy people, and explode. Easy, fun, and our explosion does slightly more damage than Gengar's, which can definitely be helpful, especially with clamp support. I'm genuinely excited to see our 7th team in action. Let's see how they shape up. Oh lord, this isn't going the way I want. How am I so bad at this? Any teams where 2 Pokemon are both running Bubble Beam probably isn't the best, I guess. And it would probably be a lot better with Starmie over Rhydon, but okay. Let's try something new again. I want Persian to go sit in a corner somewhere for a while, and let's take Pinsir with us. Pinsir is another Sword Stance user like Sandslash, but we swap out the overall better typing for a better attack stat and slightly better speed. Bug isn't the worst type in Gen 1, Poison just kind of exists, and Dragon and Ghost don't really exist, but the lack of stab and really only being able to switch on Earthquake makes it a much more difficult play to get Pinsir in safely versus Sandslash. Pinsir's moveset is also a bit more hit and miss than Sandslash's. Our boosted Hyper Beam hits better damage thresholds than Sandslash's does, but Sand Rodent gets Stab Earthquake and Rock Slide. What Pinsir does get though is Bind. Bind isn't perfect, for obvious reasons, but it can definitely be used to either switch out safely, or to chip damage for a clean knockout. So the set we're running is going to be Bind, Swords Dance, Hyper Beam, along with Slash, just so we can get some immediate damage out if we have to. Pretty decent damage too, nothing groundbreaking, but a serious threat to a lot of the brackets still. Also, I want Starmie back, and I'ma just say it, I have fallen in love with Thunder Starmie. And finally, we're gonna find a lost puppy after we let our pet bird fly away. Okay, flat even isn't perfect, but I'll take the improvement. We do have some problems though. Pinsir has a lot of issues. Our lower speed stat means we're taking more hits than we'd like, especially bad when one of those hits paralyzes us. We can't even hit Gengar. Even if we ran Seismic Toss, it's still super unlikely we could progress past one. And also, while switching in on a resisted Earthquake is nice, it don't really help against Rhydon. We can't really hurt Rhydon, just trap them, and hope that they don't squish us with rocks when Bind misses. There is something here though, so let's make some changes and see what we can do. Gengar and Alakazam, you're out. Cloyster and a lead Jinx, you're in. Both of these two really only need 3 moves. So for the fourths, I'm running Hyper Beam on Cloyster, pretty much just to take down Chansey, Starmie, and Slowbro from a decent range without explosion. Meanwhile, Jinx gets counter, just to try to do something with it, I don't know. Because Jinx is going to have sleep covered, Iggy gets Mega Drain back, and we're going to try out Pinsir getting Submission. Less for the normal types, and more so that we aren't completely walled by Rhydon. In theory. I am really starting to feel the regret of making this video. It feels like I'm losing my magic and that there's only one chance I have left. I'm really going to try to use everything that I've learned so far, and make my last team one that can hopefully do the best out of all of them. And I think that I've done it. I am vaguely confident here, which is more than I can say for the rest of the video so far. So, some of you guys might remember my Moltres video. It is pretty great, so go check that out if you want to see why Moltres is scientifically and objectively pretty okay. Besides that though, our team is going to be what I think will support Moltres the best. We have 5 of the best 6 Pokemon available, plus a niche Pokemon that I am very familiar with. We've got 3 Paralysis Spreaders, 2 of the Legendary Birds, the best Sleeper in the game, 2 Exploders, 2 Trappers, and Rhydon. Oh my lord, we did it. We did it! We made a team with a pretty great spread overall. Just in general, I would say this is pretty okay. Obviously above average, especially given the limitations that we had. Not only is this our best spread, but we also got to our highest ladder ranking that it's been all video. We, did it? I didn't expect this at all, to be honest. I was really expecting this video to be just a complete train wreck, but compiling all of our results show that we actually came so close to breaking even on the spread. We got way more wins overall than I thought we would. Literally double what I had projected. And I guess that's why I made this video. It sounds stupid not using the big three, but how do you know it's stupid if you don't try? It wasn't as painful as you think, and I feel like my abilities as a player have skyrocketed during this process. Learning new niche Pokemon and their roles, different team compositions, my ability to hedge out an advantage in a statistically unfair situation, and even just trying out new moves. On Pokemon, I thought I had mapped out pretty well. I actually learned to love Starmie. It takes an already amazing Pokemon and makes them into a potential nuke against other water types who think they're safe on Thunderbolt, just because they can counter with their own. Or I can boost and negate the effect. Or I can just blow up in your face. Let me be honest with you guys real quick and just say that deleting other Starmies from existence is so nice. Everyone deserves to experience it. But most people won't. For one, because most people aren't playing Generation 1 Pokemon that much 25 years later, but also because Thunder's accuracy makes it quote-unquote unviable, meaning some players will never even consider it. And that's just a move. Think about all the lower tier Pokemon you saw in this video, and just how rare it is to see a player really utilizing them, or more specifically, experienced players utilizing them. Which is definitely a shame because, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, blindly following a meta this old and the viability rankings will inevitably sap your creativity and want to return for more. And zooming out on a macro scale, these older metagames can't evolve without experimentation, leading to the same issue, but for the whole player base instead of just an individual player. So what's the point? What am I trying to say with all of this? Should we throw out the sample teams, screw the viability, and just use whatever you want? Really embrace Claire from Generation 2? No. That's a bad idea. That's definitely a bad idea. 50 losses in this video, and every time, I really wish that I had Tauros, Snorlax, and Chansey. Every team that I used would have been exponentially, statistically better with them versus without. Don't be like me, use the big three. Maybe not Chansey sometimes like me, but only if you got that dog in you like me. And if you're a new player, use the samples. They're there to help you and guide you, but they aren't a rulebook. I hope I proved that for you all here today. Creativity can still win you battles. And knowing that life can seem unfair sometimes, like the rest of the world just has a leg up on you, like you can give and give and give and get nothing back from it, being able to think to yourself that you aren't out yet, that if you push even harder than the rest, you can still find success in spite of your disadvantages. That's special, and it's something I learned from playing a Pokemon game almost as old as I am. But that's just me. I'm not that special. All I did was, I played 100 RBY OU matches without the big three, so you don't have to. Hi, so this is the part of the video where I usually close it out, but I just wanted to say thank you all so much in supporting me while I worked on this. It took a lot longer than I had projected, and my next big project video is the most ambitious yet, so that is going to be terrifying. But I've already started on the next Pokemon video, so make sure to subscribe to see that as soon as it's done, hit the bell, do all that stuff, comment down below any ideas that you have for future videos, and make sure to like it if you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much. I am so excited to grow this channel and to grow with all of you guys. I don't really use social media too much, but I'm going to drop my TikTok in the description of the video, as well as my channel bio, so hopefully I'll see everyone there too. But for the third time now, thank you all again, and I'll catch y'all next time.